Ask you about this. A 2009 National Archives and Record Administration regulation said this in 2009. Agencies that allow employees to send and receive official electronic mail messages using a system not operated by the agency must ensure that federal records sent or received on such systems are preserved in the appropriate agency record-keeping system. Must ensure that those records sent or received on systems are preserved. Did Hillary Clinton do that?
Yeah, well, the State Department said yesterday that the emails were regularly preserved and appropriately preserved. And as you know, the regulations were tightened in 2013.
The State Department said that Hillary Clinton's emails were regularly preserved?
That's what the State Department said yesterday. That there was a process in which these emails were preserved, and we know they were preserved because, as you know, last fall, after these regulations tightened up in 2013 and 2014, 55,000 pages of emails were turned over to the State Department and put in the hands of the government by Hillary Clinton.
This regulation, as you know, it suggests that they have to be preserved inside the State Department system itself or inside the appropriate agency.
Right.
That did not happen, did it?
Is that your legal opinion?
No,
because I don't see anything in the New York Times article.
Let me put the full screen up. No, I'm reading a National Archives Administration regulation, and it says agencies that allow employees to send or receive official electronic mail messages using a system not operated by the agency must ensure that federal records sent or received on such systems are preserved in the appropriate agency record-keeping system.
David, this is pretty clear.
That's the regulation. It's clear. It's inside the State Department.
And is it clear that that didn't happen?
Clinton's house.
First of all, it's not clear that didn't happen, Joe. The New York Times doesn't establish that at all. In fact, the 2009 law you're referring to isn't even cited in the New York Times. It's such sloppy journalism that you don't know what regulations the reporter's talking about. So why don't they be clear? Why don't they come back and explain what 2009 required, what actually happened, what the State Department says happened, and then the fact that the law was changed in 2013 and 2014, but that was long after Hillary Clinton left office. There was no violation of law here, Joe, whatsoever, and nobody that I can see is saying that except the New York Times.
There was no violation of law.
Well, I can't answer for the New York Times. This 2009 regulation is clear.
Well, I think they have something to answer for.
Bob Woodward has a question for you.
I'm sorry, but this kind of sounds like a non-denial denial. In other words, clearly it was a good story. You may have some technical disagreements, but we get into this issue, you know, were the walls green? Is that really illegal and so forth? It's an important story. Won't you concede that?
I would concede that it's a legitimate issue to raise, but no, I wouldn't say it was a good story. The whole premise of it has fallen apart, that Hillary Clinton violated the law here. And the source they have on it says she didn't.
But
that doesn't sound like a good story to me.
I mean, why twist it? I mean, that's not the premise of the piece. The piece says she had all of this done on her personal email account.
Right, and there was nothing wrong with that. Her predecessors did the same thing.
I just don't think twisting it and kind of...
I'm not twisting anything. Her predecessors followed the same practice, Bob.
Yes, and some of her predecessors had different rules. There are regulations that are in place. We just read one to you, David.
Yes.
And my question to you is, who has control over the emails that Hillary Clinton had between other governments, people in the State Department, and during her time as Secretary of State? Hillary Clinton, correct? Or the State Department?
Well, I think both. I mean, Hillary Clinton was the Secretary of State.
Isn't that a violation of regulation? Yes or no?
No. Is that your legal position? I don't understand. There's not an independent legal authority who's backing up what you're saying. And the New York Times...
I'm not sure what planet I'm on right now. Are you reading the same thing we are?
Sure I am. Yeah. And I'm saying that the State Department said yesterday that there was a regular process through which these were appropriately preserved. And we know they were because 55,000 pages of email were turned over to the State Department last fall. They're in government hands. That's in compliance with the law.
Well, again, the law says it must be preserved in the appropriate agency's record-keeping system. But let's move on. I want you to respond to what Josh Earnest said. He was asked a question about this yesterday inside the White House, and this was his response to this email. Let's roll that.
What I can tell you is that the very specific guidance has been given to agencies all across the government, which is specifically that employees of the Obama administration should use their official email accounts when they're conducting official government business. However, when there are situations where personal email accounts are used, it is important for those records to be preserved consistent with the Federal Records Act.
And the Federal Records Act is, again, exactly what I'm talking about here. Does Josh Earnest's statement from the White House additionally undercut Hillary Clinton's position?
No, I don't think so, Joe, at all. I don't see how that would be. I believe he's talking about guidance that was given after Hillary Clinton left office. So it's correct now that the personal email use is frowned upon for sure, but those were not the regulations that she was operating under or that Colin Powell was operating under. So all I'm saying here is let's not have a situation where the normal journalistic rules apply to everybody but Hillary Clinton. And let's not forget that the real story here is that you've got a dying Benghazi investigation on Capitol Hill. There are people trying to breathe new life into it. And you know well as I do what's going on here. They want a fishing expedition into these emails. They've found nothing after 10 investigations. And, you know, they'll find nothing in the emails on Benghazi, and then we'll be debating Chelsea's wedding plans. That's really what this is all about, Joe. And the New York Times got snookered by the Benghazi folks, and this has happened time and again. You remember the 60 Minutes controversy, other mainstream media reporters who've taken information from the Republicans and it doesn't quite add up to what they thought it was. And there were Republican lawyers calling all over reporters all day yesterday, pushing exactly the point you're pushing there, Joe, and it just doesn't stand up.
No, hold on a second. Going to follow all the bloody flags that were waved there. I don't personally know what Benghazi has to do with, again, not to belabor a point, but David, we're talking about a 2009 law. The White House was referring to a 2009 law that was put in place when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. It wasn't 2013, it wasn't 2014, and it certainly wasn't applicable when Colin Powell or even Condoleezza Rice were Secretary of State. This was a 2009 National Archives Act that the White House responded to yesterday.
If you see any evidence in the New York Times article from yesterday that we're talking about that supports the idea that Hillary Clinton violated the law, you know, let me know, but we don't see it.
Okay.